So today we're going to be learning a new reading strategy. It's called brainstorm and categorize. So brainstorm means thinking about your ideas, while categorize means to put things in groups. So today I'm going to be teaching you this strategy because it will help you to see that if you organize information in a meaningful way, the information will be easier to understand and remember. So we're going to be doing this at the beginning. So brainstorming at the beginning really helps you to activate your prior knowledge and build on that background knowledge to further extend your learning. So the state standard that we are going to be using today is on geography. So people have modified the environment since prehistoric times. There are both positive and negative consequences for modifying the environment in Ohio and in the United States. So today we will be using this strategy to help you read and learn more about how to create a list of 5 positive and negative environmental consequences for modifying the environment. So I know you guys talked about this a little bit in 3rd grade, but do we think that the environment has changed over the years? Thumbs up if you think that it has changed. Right, yeah, thumbs up. So the environment has changed over the years. So that's going to be our focus question for today. So how has the environment changed or been modified? Modified is another word for changed. So we're going to be thinking about or brainstorming some ideas about how the environment has changed over the years. So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes, and on your paper you're going to write down just a couple ideas. You're going to brainstorm things that you already know about the environment and how it has changed. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes. If you finish early, if you want to turn and talk with your partner about your ideas, you can, and then we'll come back together and share our ideas on the board. Yeah, those are good. Yeah, I really like that one. That's a good one. I like that I'm seeing you guys really thinking about some of the things that you already know, and I see some things that we actually even already learned about in different studies and everything that you guys are writing down that you know about the environment. So that's really great. Okay, so we're going to come back together. And remember, the focus question was, how has the environment changed or been modified? So what do we know about the environment? How has it changed? Since this is our first time brainstorming, I'm going to give you an example. On the far left side of your paper, we are going to brainstorm our ideas. We're going to write down some of our ideas. So everyone should be on the far left side of your paper. So something that I know about the environment. How has the environment changed? Something that I know. Well, I remember that we read the book on habitats. And I remember reading that there's a lot of habitat loss in the environment, and that animals are losing their homes and then they're having to move to residential areas, which is causing problems with traffic, and they're causing accidents, and they're even ruining people's gardens. They're eating their plants in the yards and everything. So one of my ideas I'm going to write on the far left side under brainstorm, I'm going to write habitat loss. Does anyone want to share some of their ideas? Remember, it's something that you already know about how the environment has changed. Remember, the standard is both people have modified the environment since prehistoric times. There are both positive and negative consequences for modifying the environment in Ohio and the United States. So would anyone like to share some of their ideas?
Well, one thing that's changing the environment is pollution. We have a lot of pollution in our air that causes people to have breathing problems, like my grandpa. There's water pollution. I saw on TV where there's like a whole island of plastic just floating out in the middle of the ocean.
Great, yeah, pollution's definitely one. Do you have another one that you want to share? Or if you want to list them, you can, if you wrote down a few.
Yeah, I have a couple.
Okay.
The erosion of the lakeshore is another one.
Yep,
And that's like, at the end of our street there used to be a beach, but now there's not a beach anymore because it all eroded away. It's just a big cliff and it's dangerous and we're not allowed to play there anymore.
Great. Okay. What's another one?
Dealing with the environment. Well, we do a lot of recycling today.
Recycling, that's definitely
so that
one.
we're not adding to the big landfills and things like that.
Right, and we recycle here. Do you recycle at home?
Yes,
So we
at
recycle
home
in
and at
school.
school.
Yep.
Right, and then we
Right.
reuse things and repurpose things.
Great.
There's this big push about not using plastic straws anymore because they're killing the turtles.
Right, yeah, we don't have plastic straws anymore in the cafeteria.
And no plastic bags. They're getting away from plastic bags. We're supposed to bring our own bags to the grocery store,
Right.
reusable bags.
Right.
Another thing, the rainforest is dying out, which means that a lot of species, a lot of animals and plants that grow there can no longer survive,
Right.
and even some people who live there can't live there anymore.
Great. Does anyone else have anything that they would like to share?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
We also, dealing with the environment, we have lots of new sources of energy.
Great.
Like
yeah, sources of
those
energy.
big windmill turbine things that you
Right.
see, and hydroelectric and solar panel energy and
Great.
stuff like
Yeah,
that.
that is a good one.
I know that some places are losing all of their trees. It's called
Deforestation?
That's it, deforestation.
Yep, that's a good one.
But there are some companies that are planting trees. For every tree that they cut down, they're planting 2 or 3 trees.
Right.
So is that called reforestation?
Right. Yeah. How about, is there anyone else that has the one more? Or is everyone done?
Oh, I saw something. My mom was watching the news the other day, and there was something where they showed them moving elephants from one part of Africa where they couldn't survive anymore because there was no food and water. They were relocating them, carrying them in huge nets underneath helicopters. So relocating different species so that they wouldn't be dying out.
Great. These are some really great ideas. So now that we filled out the brainstorm section of our chart, we need to move on to the categorize section. So categorize means to put things into group. So let's look at our list. What do you think that we can say about all of our ideas? How can we categorize them? So since this is our first time categorizing, I'll give you guys a hint. Do you think these things are good or bad, or do you think some are good and some are bad?
Some of them are good and some of them are bad.
Some of them are good and some of them are bad. That's a great way to categorize them. But instead of saying good or bad, is there another word that we could use for good and for bad?
Like positive and negative.
Positive and negative. That's correct. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a chart. So in the middle of your paper, you're going to make a big T. This is how we're going to categorize our information. On the left side, you're going to write positive. And on the right side, you're going to write negative. So the left side is positive and the right side is negative.
Okay.
So let's take a minute and see if you can find one positive and one negative. So you're going to use this list of our ideas that we already knew about and find one that's positive and one that's negative and write them down on your paper. I'm going to give you just a couple minutes. Yeah, that's a good one. Why do you think that one's positive?
Because it's given us lots of new ways to make energy, so we don't have to keep using fossil fuels and stuff like that.
Right. And do you think that this is a better way than writing all of these ideas down like this? Do you like it writing it like this better?
Yeah, it makes more sense. It's if you can put them into categories, like these are the good things, these are the bad things.
Right. Yep. I like how he's using his ideas and placing them in positive and negative, and he even has a reason to why they're positive and negative. Good. Okay, so let's come back together and let's make a list for our positive. So which of our ideas are positive? So I'll do an example first. So I think that recycling is positive. Can anyone tell me why recycling would be positive? We're also going to cross them off as we use them so we know that we already use them in our list. Can anyone tell me why recycling, just quickly, why recycling would be a good thing, a positive thing?
Because if you're recycling, you're not throwing stuff into the landfills and you're reusing and repurposing things.
Great, exactly. So what about, let's just list them. Habitat loss. Do we think that's positive or negative?
That's negative.
Negative. So let's put habitat loss in negative because animals are losing their homes. What about pollution? Is pollution positive or negative?
It's negative. Pollution's bad.
Why is pollution bad?
Because it makes it hard to breathe, it makes the environment look ugly, and it makes the water dirty.
Right. What about the erosion of the lake shore? Is that positive or negative, or you don't know?
That's bad, because if you had a house right there, your house fell into the lake.
Yeah, that's negative. Yeah, right. You don't want that to happen to your house.
No. And now there's no beach.
Right, that's a bummer. What about using non-plastic items? Is that positive or negative?
That's positive because we're saving the sea turtles.
Right, exactly. Great. What about the rainforest dying? Is that positive or negative?
That's not a good thing. That's
Not
negative.
a good thing. What about sources of energy? Do we think that's positive or negative?
That's positive. New sources of energy like wind power and solar panels, solar power, water power. That means that you don't have to use fossil fuels and destroy the environment digging things up and...
Right. What about deforestation?
That's a bad thing because
That's
that
bad.
means that there's no
Negative.
trees.
Right, exactly. And what about relocating species?
That's a good thing. That's positive because now the elephants that would have died aren't going to die.
And can anyone think of one more positive thing? We have 5 negatives and we have 4 positives. Can anyone think of one more positive thing about the environment? One more positive thing. Let's think.
I could think of a negative thing.
Okay, yeah, let's think of another negative.
So, because there's so much fishing and stuff going on in the world and pollution, there's a lot of species that are dying out, so it's like bad for the ecosystems and it's bad for biodiversity.
Right.
Losing different species of animals.
Right, exactly. So we can see that we have listed our ideas under brainstorming and then we have categorized them. So do we see how we categorize them as positive and negatives? And thumbs up or thumbs down if you think that this was a more organized way instead of just listing all these ideas. Thumbs up if you think that was a better way. Right, exactly. So we can look back at this chart when we think about the positive and the negatives about the changing environment, and we can say, oh, we know that recycling and using non-plastic and new sources of energy are positive, while habitat loss, pollution, the rainforest dying are all negative. We can also use this during our reading, so we can use this chart to help us categorize other information mentioned in the text. So you guys can use this as a resource. So really good job, you guys did great.